Ohayou gozaimasu. How are you all doing today? Today I'm just going on a walk around. Well, this is kind of close to where I live, but just going on a walk so that way I can do what I can to keep myself in shape. One of the things I like doing on my walks is going into areas that I haven't been to before, so I'm just venturing around in largely undiscovered areas. I mean, as you can see, it's like a lot of forested area here, see? But it's really nice. I'm enjoying it. One of the reasons I'm doing this is, I just reached a dead end, but one of the reasons I'm doing this is so that my friends and I are kind of keeping tabs on each other just to make sure we do what we can to at least be in relative shape. So oftentimes we'll send screenshots of where we walk or how long we've been walking around. But I figured today I might as well just take you guys with me, so make this a video because this is part of my, I guess, eventual comeback to fitness journey, if you will. I need to also eat healthy as well, but I do plan on also starting to work out. One of my job's benefits is they give us time to actually work out, or a little bit of extra time for lunch if we work out, and I plan to take advantage of that here very soon. So, you know, that'll be part of it, but starting right now at least, I'll start with these walks. The one thing I've always appreciated about being in Japan, especially hearing friends from the US, they just mention how safe it is here. And I think part of the reason for that is because Japan, or like the US or a lot of other places in the world, I guess, doesn't really have a grid system. Well, some of the big cities in Tokyo do, but Okinawa especially, just due to the shape and the amount of land that's used, so everything's kind of just scattered about, which for me, I personally like. Kind of makes everything more interesting, and you can find some really nice looking areas or nice looking houses just scattered about amongst all the more common houses. And for the most part, there's no real separation of rich and poor neighborhoods. Everyone just kind of lives within one another. So, I mean, overall, we are kind of like people society. Oh, there's two cats. The kind of way that Japan builds makes it sometimes a bit more difficult to find exactly where things are because they could just be in the most inconspicuous area. But again, that's part of what makes going on walks here so much fun, because there's so many things you can, and there's a lot of things that I found just by walking around randomly. You're like, oh, I didn't know this was here. I mean, you could probably did it with America, but when I was there, things seemed a lot more, I guess, purposely placed. You have complete business districts, and then you have complete residentials, where Japan's kind of, again, it doesn't even have the separation of businesses and actual homes, because in some places they have businesses on the first floor, and then second and third floor is residential. So pretty common theme here. こんにちは。こんにちは。かわいい。優しいな。大丈夫。注意しなくていいよ。大丈夫。バイバイ。ちょっと歩いてきますね。ちょっと行ってきます。バイバイ。バイバイ。ごめんなさい。バイバイ。バイバイ。可愛いんですけど。大丈夫。ちょっと散歩してきますね。バイバイ。Makes me miss having a dog of my own. I used to have one up until about 2 years ago. Unfortunately, he passed away due to old age. And, well, actually, the apartment I live in currently doesn't even allow pets. But if I could get one, I would definitely get, well, the dog I really want is a Shiba Inu, just because I think they're the most adorable dog on the planet, I should say. I have a soft spot for just dogs and cats because I grew up with them. So either one could be okay. So this right here is called an Ishiganto. They're placed all around Okinawa, actually. They say specifically Ishiganto, all of them. It's basically just a way to ward off the evil spirits. It's very similar to the design of the Shisa. Actually, there's two Ishiganto right there. Very similar in design to the Shisa here, which Shisa, you have one open mouth and one closed mouth. So the one with the open mouth takes in the evil spirit, and the closed mouth is the one that keeps it in. Yep. When you go around random neighborhoods, you can find some other dogs out there. That one's not as friendly as the one I ran into earlier, so I guess I'll go another way. It looks like a dead end anyway. So many things you can run into, though. I ran into a couple of small businesses over there. And I mean, keep in mind, this is not too far from where I live. There's all sorts of small little things you can stumble upon that you'll never know is there otherwise, which I guess to some people is inconvenient and is not really that smart business-wise, but I don't know. I like it personally. And of course, you got reminders all over the place to let you know to make sure you keep your dog with you as you're walking with them at all times. It's also just been a nice day to walk outside today, considering the last week or so has been really cold and kind of dreary, which is typical for January. But when you get nice days like this, it just makes you, especially when I go for a walk or a run. I might go for a run later because I'm enjoying this. My tracker's probably going all sorts of crazy right now because I've been walking back and forth. I mean, I'm not pacing back and forth, but I walked backwards and then I walked in another direction, and then it's probably like, don't you got a set path? And The answer to that is nope, kind of going wherever I want. Hear a lot of dogs today. I can almost make an ASMR of just all the random dog barking you hear in this video. It's crazy because particularly in Japan, because of the way the roads are designed, you never really tell which roads really intersect with others until you take the path and you're like, oh, I mean, that makes sense, but it's just something you never think about because the way the road structure works. I don't know if I make any sense of that, but just until you walk on the roads, you're like, oh, I wouldn't have never guessed that that road intersects with there, or, you know, the area is smaller than you'd give it credit for. I don't know. So again, that's one of the reasons I like going on these walks, so I can find out new paths to take when I use my car. Also, one of the best parts about Japan too is the fact that they have these mirrors here, because the roads are so small and it's hard to tell where people are going sometimes. You've got these little mirrors here that you can be able to see from all directions, I guess. Really an ingenious design, but I mean, I guess it wouldn't be as necessary if the roads weren't so small, but you know, you gotta work what you gotta work with. One thing I always forget about Okinawa is that even though we do have our cities here like Naha, Okinawa, Nago, it's still a very much a rural place. And there's a lot of areas where there's not really much, I don't say civilization, but it's still very like largely untouched by human population. And then there's still a lot of natural beauty in Okinawa. And you know, this is me speaking of being in central Okinawa. I'm looking at all this greenery over here, this largely untouched dirt road that probably wouldn't find, I mean, I guess if you go to some other place, some suburb areas in Japan or mainland, you might find places like this, but Okinawa, it's abundant. And it's crazy to think that there's like little plots of areas like this in areas where there's a lot bigger cities, city-like structures. Oh, and the clouds too. That's another thing that Matt pointed out to me that has always been a kind of a visual beauty, is just looking at the cloud formations. Considering he said in California there were barely any, Okinawa's got some very, very just, when you really think about it, they just have some beautiful, beautiful sky formations. I know it's probably just something, honestly, for me, it's not something I really thought about until I was in Okinawa and realized that most other places kind of don't have a comparison to it. But it's definitely one of the natural beauties of it, especially when you kind of put it all together. It's really nice to be able to go on a walk and go to areas where basically nobody is. In Okinawa, you can have that kind of escape when you just need to be away from people. Whereas I know if I were to live in a city like Tokyo or New York or Manila or any other large metropolis, I feel like being able to find that escape or respite from people would be a lot harder. I mean, outside of the confines of my own home at least. But I'm somebody, I do try to cherish my alone time, and sometimes I just need to be with myself. Oh, there's a couple of cows over there. You hear that over there? They want to be a part of the video too, see? Konnichiwa. Bye bye. Yeah, that's my little walk around for today. Just enjoying a bit of nature and, you know, peace and quiet just with myself. Just some quality alone time while, of course, getting in my workout for the day. Thank you guys again for tuning in to today's video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. ありがとうございました。また明日。